One morning, we got up. Someone happened to look out the window. This was in the fall, and there's this unusual stripe running up the lawn out here from down below. And it turns out, I think it was somebody in the fourth form had decided that they were going to run a intercom so they could keep track of the sixth formers, so that they would always be where the sixth formers were and so forth. The only problem is you walk up the walk and there's the stripe in the lawn, so that lasted about a half hour. Everybody knows the track. A lot of people, actually, some people don't. I was talking to a classmate last night who'd never heard of it. The tractor story. If you read Phil's book, I guess you know about it. But that was an interesting event. And just very quickly, it was a town where we had natural ice. We had rinks down there. And across the pond was the ice house. And that's why the railroad tracks are there, I've since learned, is that they built this line up along all the ponds, and they would collect ice, take back down to New York. But so the result was we had a lot of old ice harvesting equipment around. And you clear the rinks off. We used to clear it, the rink was along the shore, and you clear it like so, and which meant that some of the snow went out. But eventually, as the winter went on, the snow would weight the pond down. Ice fishermen didn't help. They'd cut holes. Snow would get wet and heavier, and you'd get these cracks through the rink. So the solution was to cut it out using this ice equipment. And but the problem was that the snow on the outside was heavy, and the ice would, even though the ice was like so thick out there, it would crack and then refreeze. But what was refreezing was the snow ice that was very soft. And of course, being a resourceful place as this is, we not only had 120 coolies down there shoveling snow and sweeping, but we also had tractors and other pieces of equipment. And John Deek, I think it was John, was on the tractor, got one of the wheels off into the soft stuff, and the tractor went in. It was sort of hanging on its axle. And so they got the weapons carrier. So here's the tractor going this way, and there's the shore. They got the weapons carrier at right angles and a heavy line on it. And the idea was to pull the tractor up square and then try to drive it back on the ice. And of course, worse things happen. The rope breaks. The tractor goes through with John all the way down, not 20 feet, but I've since learned 16 feet further into the muck. And unfortunately, Pat Humphreys, who used to teach math and was over here, was standing over the hole and saw his hand come up. John got stuck on the tractor somehow, but he finally got loose.
Caught his cuff on the clutch.
On the clutch. So Pat pulled him out. Meanwhile, the weapons carrier is sitting there, engine running, and of course the ice now is sloped toward the hole, and it starts moving back. And the manager, the equipment guy at the time, that was always a coveted non-athletic job because you could drive the weapons carrier. He sees his beloved weapons carrier headed toward the hole, and starts running over, and Joe Brown, who was standing near the hole, takes off, demonstrates how you make an open field tackle. Just and then after that, then it was a lesson for us all in solving problems, how adults solve problems. So the weapons carrier had a winch, so that was easy, but the tractor was not so easy. And Reuben Lee took over, and he called up his friends down at the New Haven Scuba Diving Club. And once the ice had frozen, they came up and they got telephone poles, I don't know where, I don't quite know how they did this, but they erected a teepee, 3 poles over the hole. And then they started diving, and that's when they found out it was 6 feet in the mud. And they got a hook on it several times, pieces came off, but they finally got a hook on something that was solid, and they hauled it up and hung there for, until the ice froze again, and then they towed it back up to school. And the legend is, it's a farm ball tractor, the legend is that somebody, they got up there, somebody got on it, turned it, and it started right up. But the most impressive thing to me, after that, of course, John Deacon had nothing to do with tractors or driving anything on the ice. He would drive it bravely. We, of course, learned to push all the snow up onto the bank. But it's still an issue, you know, 120 coolies can only do so much, and you've got a hockey team trying to compete with the likes of Hotchkiss, et cetera. So it was time to bring the tractor back out, and Tom Dingman got on it, and drove it out here. And thinking about it later in life, you know, you see these lessons, they sort of come to you later on. It was that adults sort of calculate the odds and then do what's necessary. And that's basically what he did. He decided that, you know, if I don't get my wheels off the edge, I should be fine, and we can do this. And I think that was a great lesson for us all. I have one more story, another bridge story.